This piece was it disappointed a few people, that I talked with about it. I call it Three Brains, and to be brutally honest, the Japanese, from a national and international standpoint, have applied their brain, and they have made progress, not only in the United States but globally. Black folk have claimed to be kings and queens, have embraced damn near every religion that's out there, or a lot of them, the chief ones, whether that be Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Catholicism. And now we're saying that we're getting word from the ancestors, yet we can't get it together. That's why you got to tilt with the black brain. I know people who have moved to different places, and when I speak about people, let's narrow it down to homeless folk. You drop them off from a Greyhound to a Greyhound station, state they've never been to, city they've never been to, and within a matter of days, they will know where they can get, apply for food stamps, where the temp agencies are, how to start over. And black folk have been in this nation over 400 years, and they have not gotten it together. You have the white brain. White folk or Caucasian, they have accomplished a lot, not only nationally but internationally. And the reason why I come up with the concept Three Brains, actually I was inspired by a conversation or a debate I overheard, and it kind of come off like a joke, like, out of these brains, which one would cost the most? Which brain would cost the most? And then, talking to black folk, it'd be like, well, yeah, the black brain, it's powerful. And it's because it sounds good. I'm black and I'm proud. That sounds good coming out the mouth. But, taking into consideration, real life, it would cost the most. But not because it belonged to a black body. When I look at the Japanese brain, they have applied their minds. They've strategized. They failed, went back to the drawing board, made it right, and capitalized, made it happen. And they succeeded, as I mentioned, nationally and internationally. White folk are depicted as thieves, chemists, conniving killers. That's what some people see, white folk as. And if they be that, it took brain power. It took brain power strategizing to convince people that when I go into this White House or this house on the hill, you remain out there in them cabins. Hundreds of years later, you remain in them cabins. And you raise generations to reverence me and this structure. It takes power to do that. And they succeeded. White brain did that. So this is like a used car. This is like a used car. But black folk, we have not exhausted all remedies. We haven't exhausted all resources. We hadn't put our mind to what it would take to really come out of the situation. So in essence, it's the equivalence of a least likely used brain. We haven't figured it out. But these two brains here that have been utilized, as I mentioned, they would be depicted as used cars. So yeah, that brain would be the most costly brain. Yeah, brains. This piece is called What Was Passed On to Us. And it's one of the few exhibits that you can actually touch and manipulate it. I can move this. And it's a hand. It's surrounded by cotton. And it's called What Was Passed On to Us. And this is, you can see, an empty jar. And honestly, that's how I feel. I feel like our grandparents, great-grandparents, ancestors, they passed on the hope that they had. But that hope hadn't changed the reality. It's just more like, instead of generational wealth, it's generational poverty, struggles. And, you know, it's one thing to pass on a jar of opportunity, but to pass on an empty jar of hope, that's all that we've been encountering. And the cotton represents from the past. I mean, we thought Jubilee, you know, Juneteenth or whatever, we thought that was our Jubilee, we thought that set us free. But from chattel slavery came mass incarceration. And I got caught up in that. I went to prison when I was 19, wasn't released till I was 32. And it's real in the field. But yeah, this piece is called What Was Passed On to Us. Empty Jar of Hope. We cast ballots, we quote scriptures, we get behind all kind of political figures, but what's going to happen is we're going to eventually take this jar of emptiness and pass it on. You know, you open up something looking for something to be in there, and it's nothing, man. You know, you've been sold on a false hope. Sold on a false hope. Casting ballots, quoting scriptures, paying tithe and offering, and nothing changes, you know? Nothing changes. I was asked what inspired this piece, what do I call it? And honestly, I call it compliance. That's what I call it, compliance. I call it compliance because in spite of the pain that is in this black individual's left hip area, it keeps this hand on the right compliant, and it's on its knees. So the white platform represents the white world, and the black individual represents black folk in general. You know, I used to hear people say, well, you know, I would hear them debate, what do you think, you know, got us through slavery? And a lot of folk with African Americans said it would be like, God got us through it. I don't believe that. I can recall like having jobs, different jobs within a time frame. And it would always be an individual who would pull up and be like, hey, you got to watch out for that manager there, or you got to watch out for that supervisor. They assholes. They'll cross you out. They get you fired. And I at some point, after, you know, years of hearing this from different individuals who they call it putting you up on game, I began to ask, like, okay, so how long have you been here? And I would get different answers, you know, 5 years, 3 years, 17 years, 26 years. So my next question was, what did you do to maintain that long? And I'm telling you, man, at least on 2 occasions during the course of them expounding on how they, you know, lasted that long, that asshole manager or supervisor would pull up, and that person who's giving me game would jump in compliance, do the job. Manager, supervisor don't even have to say anything. Person would just resume. So when I look at slavery, you know, you got people of color who've been moved from one part of the world to another part of the world and dumped in the South. That's power for a group of people to be able to move a large group of people continuously over waters, the Atlantic Ocean, you know, the Middle Passage, and dump them in the South for somebody else to intake, process them, break them down, and resume the business. That's power. So I don't think it was some God, some deity that got black folk through slavery. I'm convinced that it was black folk knowing their responsibility, knowing that the power that they was up against, they couldn't withstand it. So they complied. Compliance. That's what I'm convinced of. What's keeping a lot of black folk alive today? Comply. Yeah, Michael Brown laid 4, 5, 6 hours down, face down in the street, but y'all comply. Folks didn't get out of character, and he was from the neighborhood. So compliance. People say what they want to with their mouths, but man, fear, just as powerful as courage. Compliance. This piece has a strong statement. I call it plantation. You know, plant is the base word, the root word, and you got the suffix. And I come up with this term because I looked at black folk like continuously being in the same condition. You know, getting the education that was required, casting ballots, what was required, speaking English, you can read English scriptures. All that was required, yet we kept getting the same results. And I had come to the conclusion, it's like, damn, we were planted here as inferior people, and we keep getting inferior results. In spite of our education, in spite of our belief, in spite of the ballots that we cast, we keep getting inferior results. We still pleading, questioning, begging, you know, to be accepted for justice. And, you know, when you plant a carrot seed, you look for carrots to come forth. When you plant an apple seed, you look for apples to come forth. When you plant people in a land as inferior people, as slaves, that's what you're going to produce. Man, I don't give no damn about how many niggas is pushing the damn basketball up and down the NBA courts. How many of them catching pigskin on the NFL? How many of them can act and convince you that they were that person on the silver screen? Inferior people. And another thing, you know, folks look at a Denzel or Oprah or Kamala Harris. This is what people gotta understand. Black folk always claiming people after they accomplish their endeavors individually. Oprah didn't go to school, get into media for black folk. She did it because first it was a love. It's a love. Denzel got into acting because it was a love. Obama got into politics for his love. Black folk feel that because an individual becomes successful individually, that we're supposed to reap the benefits collectively. That's not how it goes. And that's why you have this. You're going to always have the multitude, the masses, you know, reaping the benefits as far as, or should I say not the benefits, but, you know, the trauma, you know, inheriting the poverty. Because it's not a collective thing. Everything is not a collective. Some things is accomplished individually. But black folk always want to, I don't see Caucasians telling Tom Hanks, you know, hey, you made it, you owe us. I don't hear Caucasians, hey, Garth Brooks, you made it, you owe us. Black folk always not supporting one another. And once an individual make it based on their drive, their education, their ambition, we want to claim them. And then we get mad when these people don't utilize their positions for the overall people. No, they didn't do this shit for you as a collective. This was an individual endeavor. It had nothing to do with us. You know? There is no us. Plantation. Planted is inferior people, and that's what's being produced. Inferior people. Still asking, you know, for justice. Thinking that they can scare people with no justice, no peace. That shit is a rockabye baby nighttime song now. Nobody's, you know, moved by no justice, no peace. That shit is not threatening no more. This piece here speaks volumes. I call it 3 minutes and 15 seconds. And I do so because hip-hop has had a great influence on black youth. I'm talking about black youth first. A lot of people they call on later. I'm talking about black youth right now. And a 3 minute and 15 second hip-hop song is all what it took was to fuck up our lives. Trying to mimic the shit that these guys were lying about over a damn beat. 3 minutes and 15 seconds. It's the average hip-hop song. The length of it, that is. Niggas done tried to sell dope, gangbang, pimp. Girls done got up on them night poles, tried to strip, embracing a lifestyle as a means of sustaining an identity and creating capital for ourselves. And it have led to either grave prison or graveyards, trying to attain this city shit. Every artist on here is not an artist that misled. It's just those few that did mislead. They did a lot of damage within 3 minutes and 15 damn seconds. Fucked a whole lot of lives up. The niggas tried to make certain hip-hop songs a theme, for their lifestyle. And here you go, a lot of these cats wasn't even living that life. Sitting up on front porches and in garages. And from a safe distance, they watched guys engage criminal lifestyles. Or caught that 11 o'clock news. Saw the bloodbath. But they put it in a song. Because niggas didn't own hip-hop. You had white boy producers. No, this is what you say. I know you didn't live the life. Oh, it's not in you. But this is what you say. Niggas didn't know nothing about no pimping. No hanging out no windows and doing no drive. It wasn't in them. And it's not... It's a narrative. Okay, I get it if you speaking along a third party, witness. Hey, dude was shot up. Dude went to do this, ended up in prison. But when you, as an artist, remove the microphone and put the gun in your hand, when you're not about that life, you contribute, to the myths. And what's happening now is we got a group of youth who are mimicking what they thought. And that it's like you got O'Shea Jackson them here, Andre Young, Run DMC, LL Cool J. A lot of these cats was on this side. They influenced. I'm 45 years of age. Here it is, November, Thanksgiving 2021. And this younger generation is on the other side of us. And because we were influenced, and a lot of cats my age and chicks tried to get that next record deal, didn't get it. And the ones that was looking up to us as we tried to get that record deal, they living it. Some of them are living it. And they dying.